Anderson.
What's up, guys? It's Christian here.
And on this episode, we are going to delve into astral projection.
Astral traveling, if you may.
And prophetic dreams. So, buckle up, because we're about to take you through the Ween.
In the Ween.
I feel
like we should... Oh.
Okay. Yeah. We'll tell them. We'll tell them what that means.
Okay.
That motto.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like we should just give a little bit of a small definition on what in the Ween means, because it just sounds a little weird. So.
In the Ween.
But we'll tell you what it's about.
Yeah, living through the Ween. That's what it is. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
You guys ready, listeners?
Are you ready?
You
are about to enter
111.
Okay, I feel like our timing should be better, but it's fine next time.
Okay.
Episode 5, we'll work on our timing.
Yes, episode 5. It's okay.
It's okay.
So we got our Rodecaster Pro set up with our mics, and this is all new to us, by the way. Last time we had to make do with this smaller USB.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, the other Rode mic, but because we didn't get our full order that we placed with B&H for our entire podcast setup, we were missing the arm.
The amount of frustration that we had that night, because it felt like everything was just kind of not going wrong, but just like, oh, wait, we don't have this. Oh, wait, we don't have that. But you know what? We adapted. We got through it. And we don't want to give up, because we had put in so many hours that day just setting up the set. And Anderson remembered he had an extra microphone that we could use.
Yeah, it's a microphone that I used to do like voiceovers and stuff. So it came in handy, and we were able to still adapt, and we recorded 3 episodes that way.
That's like the theme of our work life, is just adapting to
problem solving.
Literally.
Problem solving. You come to us to solve problems, or when
we're
you
the
need
cleanup crew.
Yeah, we're the cleanup crew, problem solvers. That's how we like to see it. So, now let's go ahead and delve into astral projection. And what is astral projection, Christian?
So, good old Wikipedia, defines it as a term used in esotericism to describe an intentional out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a subtle body called an astral body, through which consciousness can function separately from the physical body and travel throughout the astral plane.
What is the astral plane?
I was just about to ask if you wanted to give your definition of the astral plane, or do you want me to just go ahead and...
So, I have a made-up version, I guess, of astral plane, and it's not made up. It's just my interpretation of it, but the astral plane is basically this buffer zone between, like, anytime you go to sleep, or almost like the spirit world. It's just like a layer of the metaphysical, right? So the astral plane is like things that we don't experience day to day when we're, in our waking lives.
In the Ween. No? Okay.
No.
Oh, damn.
So,
damn. That's right.
I just, that is my understanding of what it is. So, like, when you go to sleep, your spirit body travels, into dream worlds, right? But the astral plane is like one where I feel like your spirit goes to exist during sleep. So I don't know what the actual definition is. Go ahead.
I mean, it's pretty close. It talks about it's the world of the celestial spheres crossed by the soul in its astral body on the way to being born and after death, and it's generally believed to be populated by angels, spirits, or other immaterial beings. In the late 19th and early 20th century, the term was popularized by Theosophy and Rosicrucianism. That's a large word.
Where is it?
That one right there.
Rosicrucianism.
Okay, I totally fucked that one up. So.
That's cool. Rosicrucianism.
I've never heard of that before. What?
It's like they study a lot of like esoteric things. It's kind of like the Freemasons, but they delve more into their own kind of teachings and things like that.
Anderson, where do you learn this stuff from? Like, I don't know anybody who knows more about this genre.
Trust me, I would always...
You know more than the average person.
I would always think that I know some, but it's weird because, like, I know a lot of things about things, but I can never like go back to provide you where I learned it from. Like I can't say like, oh, I studied that in the third year of college. No. I probably saw it when I was downloading some torrents, maybe. I don't know. Like,
Don't show your age, Anderson.
Yeah. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
no, I know what you mean. I mean,
so that's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty close. But I guess not everybody gets to enter the astral. So.
Oh, definitely not. Like, first time, you see, funnily enough, you can't say where you've learned these things, but I can say where I've learned them. And that's because I've learned them from you after talking to you and being your friend for so many years. And a lot of these terms I just really, I mean, I remember hearing astral plane and traveling when I watched Insidious.
That's a good one, a great example. But, the thing about that film is, like, they take it from a very dark place.
Yeah.
And it's almost frightening for people to even want to learn about it because that movie is, like, the ultimate nightmare. And that, honestly, that was one of the creepiest, scariest films I had ever seen, to be 100% honest with you, because the visuals, the sound, they just did such a good job of.
Was that James Wan's?
That was James
first. Wan. No, but what's that? Was that like his debut?
It wasn't his debut, but it was like his debut into that universe.
Okay.
Because he had done a bunch of other films, like he did Saw, he did.
Oh, he did the Fast and Furious too, right?
He did that one, but I mean, like this was like probably like 8 years ago when Insidious came out.
Yeah.
Because you that post that I sent you, they're coming out with the number 5.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Another one?
But we digress. Sorry.
Yeah.
So no, Insidious is a good example of, people astral projecting, and they're going into like the spirit world, because in that film they depict the astral, full of like the negative side of things. So the main character, the main family is. I don't want to spoil it, but the dad in the film had been astral projecting since he was very young, not realizing it. And it kind of passed on to his son to be able to naturally astral project. And so the whole film is just about the negative entity that they bring back with them when they astral project, because that little boy doesn't have that silver cord. I don't know if we should mention the silver cord that your spirit body is attached to your actual physical body. And if you don't, I don't know why in that film they just didn't talk about it. And we don't even know if it's true. It's all speculation. But apparently there's this cord that connects to your belly button that when you sleep at night, it tethers you so your soul doesn't just float away. Or it doesn't have to, like, look for the body.
All I can picture is, like, moms when they put their children on, like, those leashes.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't travel too far.
Yeah. No, so the kid is locked outside of his body, and this evil entity takes over his body and possesses him. And it's pretty frightening.
Yeah, because he was too far away from his physical being.
Yeah. He didn't have that silver cord. Go ahead and look up silver cord, just so put astral plane silver cord, because that is it's weird. It's I'll tell you one of my experiences with it, and I don't know if because I read about it or you know what I mean. Like sometimes it's hard to know if you're just imagining these things after you've learned about them. So
no, there's an actual reference here on Wiki. It says that the silver cord in metaphysical studies and literature, also known as the Sutratma,
of life.
Is that accurate? Okay.
I don't know.
So the silver cord in metaphysical studies and literature, also known as the life thread, refers to a life-giving linkage from the higher self down to the physical body. It also refers to an extended synthesis of this thread and a second consciousness thread passing from the soul to the physical body that connects the physical body to the etheric body, onwards to the astral body, and finally to the mental body. So you're not too far off.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Think about it. Your higher self is connected through that super long cord. And basically, if you can activate that silver cord, or you're consciously aware of, your life and being positive and living like to your highest, state, your higher self, I think, has more of a connection to you because it's probably just you, right? In a metaphysical form, 10 to 20 different lifetimes ahead.
This is wild. So there's like people who are known to be astral projectors. Like, is that that's like a thing? Like people who.
So it's weird because there's a story about this. Like I said, I don't know. I don't remember where I read it, but it was an ancient legend it took place in China, and there was like some master who he could predict things because he would leave his body within seconds and come back. So he'd be able to go to the Akashic records, like I think we talked about that last episode, right?
Yeah.
And he was able to literally go and look at somebody's life and come back and tell them, kind of like a psychic would do, right?
Sounds like Doctor Strange.
Or Doctor Strange. I forget, he was able to get into that deep state really, really fast, come back, and then tell whoever is asking, kind of tell them, like, that's not a good idea,
Was he usually right?
He was usually right.
Oh, man.
And he was known in that legend.
Yeah.
That, he had the power to, astral travel immediately.
Have you ever astral traveled, Anderson?
I'd like to think that I have. But it's, like I said, I don't know if it's because of my wild imagination thinking it. Because I don't, like, I don't know. Who knows? Like, who actually can tell me, like, this is the exact experience that you go through when you're astral traveling? Because for me, what happened was, I remember, I think it was like back in 2006, 2007. And I remember getting into sleep paralysis. And that's usually like the best time to astral travel. Because I don't know if it's because you're easily accessible to, exploring in that metaphysical world. But what ended up happening was I remember saying, I want to go visit my friend Tim. And my body slingshot. Like, it felt like being on a slingshot, not my physical body, but like my soul. And I don't know how to explain it, but it just went, and it just shot from my house all the way to his house, in his room. And I felt that I was just in his room, and it was dark, and I was just floating around. And I was looking at him sleep.
Would Dr. Sleep be like another good example of astral traveling? You saw Dr. Sleep.
I did see Dr. Sleep.
The latest Shining movie. I mean, and that's kind of what they're doing, right? Like,
yeah, that is. They're astral traveling.
Because they're going from place to place.
In the sleep state. Yeah. So I would say that was like my first time like controlling it. And I remember when I got there, I couldn't stay there long. I just remember that I was stuck to this bungee like cord, and I don't know how it went from seeing Tim and my cousin. They're laying in bed. Tim is married to my cousin. So I know it sounds odd, but yeah, I went into their room and I was just kind of floating. And then I just remembered, I don't know, dreams are weird, man. But I just remember seeing like these purple like gorillas, kind of like, you remember that scene from, what was that Kubrick film, 2001.
Okay.
Where those monkeys or those apes are around that obelisk, that silver. It was like that, but they were purple. And I saw them for a split second. I don't remember what they were doing, but I slingshot back into my body.
Wow.
And I was like, I think I just astral projected. Or, I'm sorry, astral traveled. The first time I ever learned about astral projection, I read it in a book. I forget what the book was called now, but...
was it fiction?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. It was nonfiction. It was real.
Okay.
It was real. This guy had been practicing it, and he would get into deep, deep states of relaxation in order to achieve leaving his body. And he would float around because at the time he didn't understand how he could control his spirit body. So his body would just float through walls. And he panicked because I think he floated through a room and like his uncle or somebody saw him and didn't know like what to expect, because when you're like in that form, you're not in like your normal form. I think he was just like a glowing, like
an orb.
Not so much an orb. I think like you look the same, but you're just like, oh, it's almost like a hologram. You know, like you're not physical, but it's just like this energy that's floating. But it shows you kind of still see your resemblance.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty wild.
Dude, I know nothing about astral projecting. I mean, other than like I said, what I've seen.
Insidious is a good example of, you know, some of the things
that's
that
probably
take
the
place.
maximum amount of reference I have.
Yeah.
But I mean, I assume, like you said, it's more likely to happen during sleep paralysis, because when sleep paralysis starts, you start to have lucid dreams, right? Once you get past that state, and then you're more likely to, you know, to kind of go where you want to go, do what you want to do, right? That's the whole point of lucid dreaming.
And I think that when you're experiencing sleep paralysis, you are in that buffer. You're in that buffer zone where it's like, if you knew how to tap into the astral plane, that is a time to do it. You know what I mean?
I think, but it has to come with like a lot of practice, right? Because I don't know if I told you, I had sleep paralysis last week.
Yeah. But go ahead and let the listeners know like your experience, because you haven't had a lot of sleep paralysis experiences, so it's always good to.
I mean, I've been in that like state right before numerous times, and I always force myself out of it because it freaks me out. Like you don't have control of your body. I feel like, you know, I mean, obviously, right, paralysis, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. But considering our last time we talked, and then just like your position on it in general, I was like, you know what? It started to happen. I was so tired. Like I had a restless night, and I was trying to fall back asleep. And like as soon as it started to happen, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write it, because Anderson would probably be like,
write it out.
Do it.
Write it out.
Do it. So I said a little prayer and just wished for the best, and then I gave in. And then it got really weird, because then like the images I was starting to see. But this is what was weird about it, because like in the past when I had it, I've had it once before where I wrote it out. I remember it was like a for sure lucid experience, because I remember like seeing myself in my room, in my bed. And this time around, that wasn't the case at all. Like I felt all the same things, like the tingling sensations, the buzzing noises in my ear, all of those like beginning stages. But then like the first image I saw pop up on screen, all right, because it was like a movie, was like this like static television set almost. And then as soon as that disappeared, I think I told you, I heard this weird voice just kind of like welcoming me. It was like, welcome. And I was like, this is why I don't like doing this. And then I started to like see myself playing like this 8-bit video game, like, but I wasn't like playing it. I was like in the video game.
What?
Yeah. Like I was in the video game, but I was like top down view. and there were like these like little monsters like going across the screen. And this is why I thought it was a lucid dream, because I was thinking to myself which one specifically I wanted to hit. And every one that I like targeted, I would hit it, like, and like these like balls drop down from like the top, and I was like aiming and hitting the ones I wanted to hit. And it didn't last very long. I mean, it lasted for like a few minutes, and then I got out, and after that, like, I fell asleep. But it was the weirdest sleep paralysis moment I've had in a while. But I did write it, and it wasn't as scary as I thought it was. There was a point there where I was kind of freaked out, because I did see myself laying on my bed for like a quick second, because then I started to feel something moving on the bed, and it freaked me out. And then I remembered it was my dog. And I was like, okay, we're good. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you have to train yourself to get past that, to get past the like wall barrier of like, do I want to go into sleep paralysis? Once you get past that, then you have to train yourself like to control your lucid dreams, because your brain wants to just automatically like take you out of it, because it's like, you're not supposed to be doing this. Like, you're not supposed to be in control of your dreams, right? Because, you know, you shut half of your brain off when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And, but once you can train yourself to do that, I think you're more in control. And then once you master that, then I feel like you could probably astral travel, right? I mean, I feel like it's like stages.
Yeah, it's weird because, you know, when I think of like, I don't even know if what I was experiencing was a dream, because I wasn't sleeping, but I was in a place. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, because to me, I find it hard to believe that I could imagine this whole entire storyline, right? But then again, you could.
Oh, for sure.
But it just was so profound. And this is like, this is after like this is during like my fasting that I did like 12, 13 years ago. And the experiences that I would have were so out of this world. I don't think I've ever been that in tuned with like experiencing a lot of like very bizarre things than when I was fasting. I felt like I was always at a heightened state. I felt like I was experiencing things that you hear people talk about, but you know, for instance, because I'm not giving any examples, I'm saying these things, but I'm not giving examples. So I used to go every morning to do cardio when I was still fasted, and when I'd be done with cardio, and I would do like an hour, right, and I would sweat it out on an empty stomach. It was like 5 a.m. because I'd have to go help my parents at their business. And when I remember driving from the gym, and I was just like super euphoric, like just in a euphoric state, like super high. Like I was just like high on like natural energy.
Yeah,
like
you were hallucinating because you weren't eating anything.
And I was like, man, this is probably what like the yogis and like, you know, people that liberate themselves from like eating or like worldly possessions, they probably experience a lot of these things, you know? And I was having a lot of very interesting moments where I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but, you know, I experienced it. So, yeah. And, you know, the other thing about like astral projection is, you know, sometimes people would dip into the future. And I feel like that's probably like a format of like people that are psychics or clairvoyant. They have the ability to astral travel like within like really quick speeds, you know? Because what typically if I mean, it's all shows, right, that we get our information on from psychics and seeing how they kind of conduct themselves. They'll be like, hold on, and they'll close their eyes and they'll be like, I'm sensing something. But really, what if it's just them connecting to that plane and they're dipping into it, but because they're still like awake, they're not like in a rested position, relaxed, they're only able to get so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I think like...
Do you think that kind of relates to like hypnosis?
Kind
like
of.
hypnotism?
I mean, Mm, I think that when you're doing the hypnosis stuff, I think that's more dealing with like your subconscious and how your
Okay.
subconscious goes into its own little world, because they're using like past life regression or like hypnotherapy, and who knows if half the times people that are under like that past life regression are just like spouting out things. But you don't know. You can't say yes or no unless there's like hard evidence where like, oh, my name was so and so and I lived in 1945 and this is what I did. I owned like a little farm and this is the location, and then all of a sudden we go and we look and it's like, whoa, that's legit, you know? So, I don't know, like I think it's a little bit different. But maybe that's what psychics are doing, because I know astral projection, I wouldn't say go hand in hand, but it's very similar to like remote viewing. Have you ever heard of remote viewing?
No.
Remote viewing is similar. I wouldn't say similar, but it's something that the government used in order to track and locate, enemy targets, or just based off of using one's ability to, in their mind, track somebody else.
What?
There's
like a person?
Yes. So like, and you can learn how to do it. Like you can learn how to do it. I can learn how to do it, but it just takes a lot of practice and a lot of patience. But they were doing this back in, I believe, the late 60s into the 70s during the Cold War. I don't know when the Cold War was. Sorry, guys. I'm not a history guy. But the Russians were doing it. So the Americans were like, yo, we gotta jump on that. And I think the guy's name was Ingo Swann. Isn't that crazy? Somebody was named Ingo Swann, who was the U.S.'s best remote viewer. Do you want to give a definition of what remote viewing is, Christian?
Yes. It's the practice of seeking impressions about a distant or unseen subject. Sensing with the mind. Typically, a remote viewer is expected to give information about an object, event, person, or location that is hidden from physical view and separated at some distance.
It's pretty wild.
So, like, why don't people use that for, like, missing children or, like, missing...
I think they do, but I think what happens is if the person is gone, they can't track it.
Like, if they're dead?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think so. I don't know. That might just be an assumption.
But how would that... I mean, because if you're, like, tracking an object which isn't alive, like, say you're looking for, like, a nuclear missile...
Which they did.
So that's not a living object.
They would use it for sites. I don't know why they don't. Maybe it's because they're like, there's hundreds of people that go missing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless there's like a whole squad dedicated to just finding missing people, Mm-hmm. So, yeah. No, it's pretty interesting. Like, the film that Hollywood made about it was called Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yeah, with George Clooney.
Yeah, with George Clooney. And it was just a real quick intro to it. But I think there's another film about remote viewing that was pretty in-depth, but I can't recall it right now.
Stir of Echoes?
What's that?
Okay. I said Stir of Echoes.
No.
Just kidding. Different type of clairvoyancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't really know much about it. I mean, it's hard to tell if that stuff, because...
So I just listened to something recently about remote viewing, and I forget whose podcast it was, but what they were saying is they're still practicing it now, right? And there are a lot of people that are really good at it. Because back then there was just one guy that was like one of the top dudes. And I think if you look up Ingo Swann, I think that's his name. I could be confusing it with somebody totally different.
No, that's... I'm seeing that here. He died in 2013. He was acclaimed psychic, artist, and author known for being the co-creator, along with Russell Targ and Harold E. Patoff, of remote viewing, and specifically the Stargate Project.
The Stargate Project, that's what it was called. So that was like their mission, that was the name of their mission, was Project Stargate, where they were able, I forgot who they were searching for, but
That is loud.
it's really loud. Okay, go ahead.
So Stargate Project was a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1978 at Fort Meade, Maryland, by the Defense Intelligence Agency and SRI International to investigate the potential for psychic phenomena in military and domestic intelligence applications. The project and its precursors and sister projects originally went by various code names. And we go on to see Stargate, Grill Flame, Center Lane, etc. until 1991 when they were consolidated and rechristened as Stargate Project.
So I think it was either Ingo Swann or maybe the guy after Ingo Swann. I think it was the guy after Ingo Swann. And he was on I think it was Coast to Coast with Art Bell. Maybe it was George Norrie. And he would talk about how when he was a kid, he had like the heightened sense of like his intuition was heightened because of a traumatic experience as a child. I think he and his sister endured a lot of like physical abuse, and so like he would talk about how before, I think it was like his stepdad would come to harm them, he would sense it before it would happen. And because of that fear was so strong that he was able to pick up on any kind of like bad, like almost like a spider sense, like Spidey sense, right? He'd be like, oh no, our stepdad's about to come in and beat us up. And they would always kind of get ready and prepped for it because that they were expecting it. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. But going back to astral projection, I mean, I feel like it's kind of similar in a weird way but except that remote viewing, you're not asleep or anything. Yeah, I think you go into relaxed states, and sometimes it feels the same. I've listened to people say like they don't know if they're just assuming and creating things off their imagination or if it's real. And they did a study where they had a bunch of people practice remote viewing, and given like one little piece of detail, they got into like a very deep state of relaxation, almost like basically meditating, and they would just kind of spout out what they were experiencing or seeing. They could be like, I see a yellow wall, and they'd be like, okay, yellow wall. They'd write it down. Then they'd be like, I see almost like a tiger-looking statue. Yeah, I don't know if it's a tiger or a bear, and they write it down. And all of a sudden, when they'd go look at the location or wherever they were trying to get to, it was pretty close. That's wild. That's wild. Think about that. Like, they were able to pinpoint certain impressions, such as the yellow color in the wall, and then the animal.
And they were accurate?
And they were not 100% accurate, but somewhat accurate to finding something close to it.
Yeah.
But it was enough to help lead them into whatever their investigation was.
Wow.
Okay. So here it is, guys. July 11th, 2020 at 9:13 a.m. I woke from my sleep state, and I wrote this quote down. And this quote is, "You can never defeat the proud." And I was like, what? I stayed in bed like thinking about it. I was like, you can never defeat the proud. Man, that's a strong quote.
I mean, it sounds pretty accurate, I'll say that.
But anyways, it just kind of stuck in. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I have these dreams, and I get a lot of cool ideas from them, because how else am I going to come up with ideas for the creative, Like,
yeah, for sure.
I always have these crazy things. All right, so I wrote this down. So, addressed by Jason, a friend of mine, after asking him what's going on in the world. Because in the dream, I dreamt that I was in his academy, He sorry guys, we're getting a lot of out external noise. So Jason was he was at his academy, and he had another major instructor, BJJ instructor, who was like sweeping up this academy. I remember thinking like, what am I doing here, right? And then I see Jason, and I remember I was just like, hey man, what's going on? Like, everything's so weird. Like, why are we experiencing some of the things we're experiencing? And he said, and I even told him this, and he goes, nah, that's not me. He was like, that's all you. I don't know anything about that. But he was like, it sounds pretty accurate for what we're living through. So living through the Ween, he tells me this in the dream. He goes, we are living through the Ween. And I was like, living through the Ween? What? Living through the Ween? You remember that? I was like, living through the Ween? What does that even mean? And what it means is that we're living in the in-between. And some of us are experiencing psychic-like abilities because we are almost in two places at once, parallel worlds conjoined. And I was like, oh man, that to me just like clicked. It clicked like a light switch, like a light bulb just went off. And I was like, that kind of makes sense because we're going through all this weird COVID stuff and a lot of extremities that year.
For sure.
Like things that you were like, imagine like 5 years from now if like this happened. And all of a sudden it was like, no, not 5 years, right now. And we were just so taken aback by some of the situations that was going on in the world. So that is the coined motto, and that is the motto of our show. You know, enter 111, life through the Ween.
And didn't you have like some like weird occurrences that happened that week related to in the Ween? I remember there was something that happened that was like, Christian, that's what in the Ween means.
Yeah, but I can't. I do remember. I do recall having that experience where I was like, "Oh my goodness!" But I can't pinpoint it. If we don't write these things down, we just don't remember. And there's been so many weird occurrences that we've experienced that we should be writing these things down. You know, like even our trip to Albuquerque. Look at so many weird things happened where we're just like, what? You know? Yeah. Did we write anything down? Dude, no.
I mean,
no.
But I'm sure we vlogged them.
Yeah,
right?
we probably talked about it.
Even though we didn't write them down, we recorded them. So
yeah,
we'll have to review that footage and
yes. But that is what living through the Ween means, guys. Buy the merch coming out soon. If you want to be a part of this movement, it's life through the Ween.
Be on the lookout.
Okay, so back to astral projection. Sorry, we're just all over the places today, but we're time jumpers. What do you expect? Okay, Christian.
Time traveling.
Let's go ahead and talk about astral projection again.
What do you want to know?
I don't know how influenced is it in like pop culture? Is there a lot of references, or because for me, I think the one that stands out the most is Insidious.
Yeah, we have some references as far as like popular culture. They talk about the Twilight Zone, Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
I never got into that game, but it says it's a powerful spell that allows travelers to transport a mental image of themselves into a strange realm known as the astral plane, which is dictated entirely by thought and perception.
Whoa.
Crazy. They talk about Insidious, a film about a boy named Dalton whose astral body gets caught in a demonic world known as the Further. I forgot it was called the Further.
Ooh, why did I get chills on the right side of my body when you said that?
The Further.
The Further.
Not the in between, but the further.
The up. What is the one in Stranger Things? The Upside Down.
That's actually in here too.
Oh, is it?
Stranger Things, yeah. Let's see. In the Netflix original series Stranger Things, a child victim of the MK Ultra experiments demonstrates the ability to locate and spy on others using astral projection.
Oh, okay. Astral
I forgot
projection.
about that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So that's
what they
another.
were training them for.
That's another one that we'll talk about is the MK Ultra project. That one is wild, and I mean, it's still it's known. It's declassified, I believe. There are notes on it now. Oh, awesome! The neighbors are vacuuming.
It's just not our night.
And they never vacuum. Let me tell you. But again, I think because of the mics, it's picking up a lot of sounds that we don't typically hear.
Right.
That's why, you know.
Makes sense.
Okay. What else is there?
So I remember watching Charmed. I loved that show, but
The one with Alyssa Milano.
Yeah, and Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember this, but apparently Prue, she had the power of astral projection as well, and she used it many times in the series. That HBO series, Carnival.
No, I never watched that.
I never watched it either. I always wanted to. It looks good. I think it got good reviews. That's a reference there. Adventure Time, the cartoon. There's an episode called Astral Plane. A comet causes Finn the human to project astrally. With no control over how to use it, he follows up on the various exploits of several characters before floating up to Mars. They talk about Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange actually is a really good depiction, especially like if you saw did you see the new Spider-Man?
Oh, for sure.
Not only that, but just even in the first Doctor Strange, it really resonated with me when he runs into the monk, the lady,
the ancient one
that Tilda Swinton plays, and she like pushes him, but pushes him. Okay, hold on, sorry. So Tilda Swinton pushes. What's his name? Cumberbatch?
Yeah, Benedict.
Benedict, yes. She pushes him out of his body, like his soul flies out of his body. And when I saw that gave me goosebumps because it felt like I knew what that felt like. Because I've had experiences where whether I was dreaming or astral projecting, like I felt something similar to that instance where it was just like, I told you, like I was in my room, I took a nap and I was like, I felt like I dreamt that I was like looking at my CD player and I went to go grab some CDs and I fell backwards. And instead of like hitting the ground, I just kept going through the ground. And as I was screaming, it sounded like the noise from like the Matrix when you're going in and out, where it's just like, oh, like that kind of like dialing, you know? And so Doctor Strange had that same kind of effect. And I was like, wow, that feels real. Like that's what I have experienced before. So, before we close out, I just had this thought. Have you seen The Third Conjuring?
Yes.
So the movie started out okay, but you know,
I had really high hopes for that movie. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I did too. But
Part 1, amazing. Part 2 was like,
Part 2 I still liked. I did.
There were parts of it that I liked.
I just didn't care for that Slender Man looking thing.
God.
I think that ruined it.
That was such, yeah.
But this third one, James Wan did not direct it, but he produced it, and he had one of his directors that did La Llorona do this one.
Which was another, in my eyes, disappointment.
Yeah, that was. You know. But anyways, I just recalled this moment in that film where the protagonist, Lorraine Warren, and the antagonist, this witchery black magic lady, was summoning like this demonic entity attaching itself to like this kid or this man. Well, anyways, they were doing like this battle between like the psychic world, and I felt that feels very similar to like astral projection, you know.
So, okay, because that was the one that was based off of like the Devil Made Me Do It.
Yeah,
it was based off of like that story where like the guy had committed these murders, and I had very high hopes for that movie, and it felt It was kind of like I was expecting it to be like part one, like just because we were going off of based on a true story. I mean, I know they're all kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, like what was the character? I forgot the character's name, but yeah, the new evil lady.
That lady, yeah. that was terrible. But anyways, it felt so much similar to kind of what we're talking about, you know, just they were going back and forth into each other's like headspace and seeing where they were at in order to locate. So was that remote viewing or was that astral projection?
Mind reading.
Or mind reading, right? It feels very muddled together. Like it just feels like a motley of those things.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah. If you guys have a chance, don't watch it. It's not worth your time. Sorry. But Insidious is a good one to check out if you guys haven't checked that one out. It has a lot of really creepy elements. So.
Yeah, Insidious. I mean, they're going to do a part 5 now? I feel like it kind of fell off after 2, right?
But they're returning to the family. So hopefully it's good.
Okay.
Because I think part 3 and part 4, I don't remember part 4, but I know part 3 followed one of the characters from it. So it goes to like a prequel.
Yeah.
But this 5th one is supposed to have like Rose Byrne back and it's supposed to have Patrick Wilson back in it. So it should be good. Hopefully it's good. I don't know.
I think it will depend also who's directing it. Is James Wan coming back to it?
I don't know.
Because I remember, was it part 2 or part 3? You remember that nerdy guy with the glasses that's on what's her name's team? You know, when they bring in the older psychic lady and she brings in her paranormal team. Yeah. Well, the nerdier guy, he directed. I want to say part 3 or part 4.
That's right. And he did a cameo.
He did a cameo in it, and gosh, it fell short.
He tried to be like an M. Night Shyamalan ding dong.
It felt like a B movie, you know. And that's the point I was gonna make is like, sure, you could have the right characters because I thought he did a good job as far as like acting wise, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the performances can be there for the characters. But if the direction isn't on point, and I feel like James Wan does a pretty good job at.
Yeah, and you know, to be fair, The Conjuring was like, it was so refreshing. Yeah. I think that's what made such a big impact was that he really paid attention to like the old style cinema from the 70s to make it feel like it was from the 70s. I mean, that's when it took place, right? Yeah. And it just the feeling, like the set direction, the art, it was really well thought out, you know. And then the performances were good, and then just the visuals, man. I swear I saw that dang lady demon thing on top of that shelf.
That is something. If you ever watch that movie, you will never get rid of that image ever. That image has been stuck with me since I watched it.
And it's crazy because like they do that camera zoom, and it's just like, oh, that zoom for some reason.
But you know what was so cool about that movie was that like, sure, you had horrifying elements like that really just took it to like a new fear level. Uh-huh. But it also did such a good job at like leaving this mystique. Yeah. To it, because even when like the girl is just staring into the corner at nothing and she's freaked out, like I just got goosebumps from that scene alone when she's just like telling her sister that she can see something behind the door, and we're looking and it's like they're letting the audience play with their imagination.
It's just like the build-up. Because you're expecting to see something, but it was more terrifying to not see anything.
Exactly, and you're just letting your brain do the work for you, like what could it be? And I think it kind of pulls out your own fears, right? Which I think then, you know, you do a really good job. But overall, great movie. And that's what I was hoping for from Conjuring 3. But I don't know. It wasn't James Wan again, right? Like, it just... And not to give him too much credit, because I didn't really care for Malignant. Did you watch Malignant?
The last one he did?
Yeah.
I know. It was fun, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And they even said, like, this isn't a paranormal film.
They did say that, which, sure.
Yeah.
But it just still was kind of hokey.
Oh, did you see on Paramount, the channel, there's a new Paranormal Activity called something
Yes,
Kin?
I did watch it.
You watched it already?
Of course I watched it.
Was
Dude,
it
horror
terrible?
movies are my favorite.
Was it terrible?
No, it actually wasn't that bad. Like,
Really?
yeah, and you ask anybody else who's watched it, and it's shocking because it's paranormal.
Yeah.
What are we on? Like 5, 6, 7? I don't remember.
Just cold.
Oh.
Just came over me.
Oh, how odd. But it actually wasn't bad for being so far into the series. There's a few of those in that series that are like pretty decent, but that one was actually it was kind of creepy, for sure. The storyline is where I try to like, stick to, and like that's how I'll base a movie. There were holes in the plot, but for the most part, I mean, you can't really expect too much.
Was the scare
From the
factor,
paranormal.
like, was it pretty eerie?
Yeah, it had its moments for sure.
Not a bunch of jump scares, right?
There are a bunch of jump scares, and they do it with sound, and it's
Okay.
something that you're just never going to get away from in those films. But definitely recommend it.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Anyway, that is episode 4.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks if you made it this far. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, guys. So reach out to us. Let us know if you have any experiences with astral projecting, astral traveling. We're very curious to see what those are. You can find us on IG, Twitter, TikTok at enter, ENTER, the number 1, and then 11, ELEVEN. Enter 111 is our handle on all of those social media sites.
Cool, cool, cool. All right. Well, we wish everybody well.
Safe travels
And
in the astral world and
yes,
in the real world.
until next time.